RBO's vacation rentals by owner. The city of Sonora was doing legally for a homestay because we live on the property, we have a cottage in our house. So, I really, we've got it down, we've been doing it for a few years, so we've got it down to kinds of people we like. I'm like over 30 now, and I think I'm gonna go to over 50. Stuff like that. We don't do that. No kids, no pets. We only like weekends. Friday, check-in Friday at 4 o'clock, out Sunday at 11. But I open it up Friday through Monday, so people can do it free, and we can Friday through Sunday. Just because a lot of people like to keep 2 day weekends. So I block midweek, all the way into like June next year, just because that's the way I do it, rather than randomly. Because VRBO, we get people from any moment somebody can book our house. I don't know what I did, but I somehow left New Year's Eve open. Yeah, I'm such an idiot. And it's all of a sudden I get this booking for New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, what? It's fun.
What is that?
Just another night for me.
What are you talking about?
We rent our house as a vacation rental VRBO. So the booking can happen at any minute. Yeah, it's booked. But here I am now tonight. I'll take a roll. Looks like 2, 3, 4, 5 of y'all showed up, and I got Brandon, Donna. Hey, Donna. So is that you? Donna, can you hear me?
Hey, Rod.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some water real quick.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Donna, can you hear me? Donna, is that you today? Do you work for the county? Donna, I sort of see you. I see some. Donna, was that you today? Are you a building inspector for the county?
Yeah, I'm a building inspector for the county.
I thought that was you. How many Donna Davises can there possibly be? I hope I see you out on the job sometime.
Well, I'm sure of it.
That'll be fun.
Yep.
And you know, being back in the game, having been out of the game for 6 years and building mostly for the city before that, you call by 6 a.m. the day of, you get an inspection, but that's not happening now. As I now know, only too well. So I'm going to take a roll.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm just learning the new ropes. So roll call. Here we go. Ready? Alec.
Here.
Let me back this up so you guys don't feel like. Better. Here. Austin.
Here.
Jose Cornejo.
Here.
Noel, blown up tire. Donna? Donna's here? Yes, just talked to her. I'm going to put an R for remote. And Victor? Victor, did you make it? Victor said he was going to make it. Let's hope he does. Eric Garcia Mendez. Eric? Art Nelson? Could you walk over there and turn that timer thing hard counterclockwise so it goes off? Brandon?
Here.
That's right. Brandon and I talked. Brandon's here remotely. John Sesser.
Here.
He's here in person. Michael Silva.
Here.
He's here remotely. Jose
Here.
Silva Nunez. Where are you at? Right there. Jose. And Ryder, you here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ryder's here remotely. So I'm only missing Art. No Art. Eric Garcia. Okay. Okay, let's go to. Hit one of those, of the two switches, hit one, please. That's interesting. Let's see, maybe it'll still come on. So just for the folks at home, we're waiting to see if the projector will come on. It should come on, it's flashing. I think that means it's good. Okay, so I'll go ahead and read, I'll read the first paragraph. Types of ladders, and I'll also read the heading. Types of ladders. Introduction, the very first thing employees must decide before actually using a ladder is which type of ladder will work the best for the job at hand. Understanding the different types of ladders and their functions will allow you to make an informed decision, and you will then be able to complete your task more efficiently and safely. Alec.
Step stools. A ladder type step stool is a self-supporting, foldable, portable ladder that is non-adjustable in length. Step stools come in different sizes, duty ratings, and material.
Can you read the next one too, please?
Step ladders. Step ladders are the most commonly used ladders. Step ladders are self-supportable, meaning they do not need to be leaned against any type of support to be used. There are two varieties of step ladders: one-sided step ladders and twin-sided step ladders.
What's that?
Platform ladder. A platform ladder is a step ladder with the top step being a platform. This type of ladder provides a comfortable work area with a slip resistant platform. Some platform ladders are equipped with guardrails and handrails.
Read the next one, please.
Single ladders. Single ladders are non-self-supporting ladders which require to be leaned against a wall or chair or other support. Single ladders are a one-section, non-extending ladder.
Michael Silva, can you read extension ladders?
Yeah. Extension ladders are also non-self-supporting ladders, adjustable in length, consisting of two or more sections. Extension ladders are the most popular of longer ladders. They are designed to handle a wide range of tasks at varying height.
Read another one, please.
Telescoping ladders. Telescoping ladder is simply a ladder that is able to slide in and out to adjust in size and does so by using overlapping sections. Almost any type of ladder can be telescoping, such as step ladders, extension ladders, folding ladders, or multi-purpose ladders.
Awesome.
Multi-purpose folding ladders. A ladder that is able to accomplish the tasks of two or more of the other types of ladders considered a multi-purpose ladder. These ladders get their name from their ability to fold up and not used for extremely easy storage. Only folding ladders are capable of folding 250 to 300 pounds or more.
Yeah. Where are we at, John?
Where are we at?
Safe work practice.
Safe work practices. When selecting the right ladder for the job, employees should use the following safe work practices before use. Never use the ladder until properly trained. Consider environmental and job operations factors before selecting the ladder. Select the ladder that is proper length for the job. Inspect the ladder prior to selection and use. If ladder appears to be in poor condition, tag label damaged and do not use. Read and follow all labels and markings on the ladder. Do not remove safety details from ladders. Do not exceed the maximum load rated for ladders. Do not use metal ladders near electrical exposure. Only use ladders for the purpose for which they are designed, which includes ladder accessories such as levelers, jacks, or hooks.
I'll read the conclusion. There are many types of ladders for a variety of jobs. Understanding the different types of ladders and their functions will allow employees to make an informed decision to complete their tasks safely. Okay, so this is a really killer topic, believe it or not. Does anybody want to chime in? Add anything about ladders? Anybody at all? Okay, nobody? Tell me.
Working with the multi-purpose phone lines, I have a camper shop, and if I'm bringing a
Yeah.
trailer or another truck, I have to use a fully extended ladder.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of play in this, and especially with newer guys that aren't used to them, they tweak because they don't have a cross brace, and they kind of walk sometimes. And guys that aren't used to it or aren't, say, on a flat surface, they will kind of walk as they work on it, and it can be kind of disconcerting.
I haven't had that problem. And I have one of those ladders as my main ladder. It's a fantastic ladder. It's so heavy though. I like to have somebody help me, but I can do it myself. But when I'm having, because mine's an older one, and I noticed they made them a little bit less. And if you know what we're talking about the multi-purpose ones, the ones that start like this, and then by click, click, they become a step ladder, and then they extend, or they come all the way up, and they extend and become extension ladders, various, and you can extend them. They're unbelievably versatile. I used an audio visual guy that helped me put in my WeBoost on my trailer earlier this year, and he had one, but his was a little lighter, and I think it might have been a Louisville. It was a very well-known ladder company, but it had wheels. So it had little dolly wheels on one end, so you could just roll it or pull it. Did yours have that?
No,
'Cause I'm telling you, that absolutely made it. And I can't remember what the action was, but the action was super easy. Where my action are these big, round, if you guys can see me, about that big, maybe 4 inches in diameter, blue plastic knobs that are kind of like indented for your fingers. And you've got to push them in and then crank them clockwise. And with my arthritis in my hands, that's the worst thing I can possibly do. So I'm at the point where I almost can't do it. It sucks, but anyway, that's one drawback. But other than that, mine's aluminum, and I think they pretty much have to be those ladders. But all the other ladders I ever bought in my whole career, when I had 20-foot extension, a 24-foot extension, a 16-foot step, a 12-foot step, a 10-foot step, many 8s and 6s, 4s, and now I use a step stool. At home, I use a step stool, which I find just fantastically light and easy to use and easy to work off of, and a good platform, folds up really nice, hangs really easy. Like I said, super light. So I'm totally in favor of step stools, but for commercial applications, for you guys doing finished carpenters need ladders, right? Finished carpenters need ladders, big time. If you're hanging anything, you're just getting up and doing some nailing on casings, on head casings, for sure, crown moldings, anything that goes up high. So a 4-foot ladder and a 6-foot ladder is pretty essential for finished guys. 6 foot will get you to any 8 and 9-foot ceilings, and really even 10. It's only you 4 foot up, right? If you're 6 foot, okay. But I saw a ladder of Buena. I bought a ladder of Buena last year to do a job hanging a bunch of blinds. I provided and hung a bunch of window coverings for a house on the beach for my son-in-law, who's a lawyer. It was one of his clients. As it turned out, I got this ladder. I gave it to Rusty, who helped me. You didn't fix it yet?
I just realized that.
We got to fix it. Let's fix it tonight. It's a corner ladder. So you could use it as a regular 4-foot step, but the top was such you could put it into a corner, an inside corner, or it was cut out for an outside corner. So you could come right up to an outside corner and put the thing and work up on a corner, have it leaning against the corner, or an inside corner, same thing. Or you could just open it up and make it a step ladder. So it's really cool ladder. So and the point I wanted to get to is, if you're going to buy a ladder, don't buy a wood ladder and don't buy an aluminum. Only buy an aluminum ladder if it's an extension ladder or if you can't afford anything else, or somebody's giving it to you, get a fiberglass ladder. They're strong, they're light, they won't collapse. They won't ground you and, you know, allow electricity to go through them, conduct into you. Fiberglass ladders, they're half, you know, they come, the green and blue ones are a little lighter duty. The orange ones are the heavier ones, and then that really thick orange that are two-sided, you can step from both sides, those are that's top line. But then, you know, they get heavier. But wood ladders, rungs always get loose, they're dangerous. So get fiberglass ladders and really, when it comes time for you to get a ladder, if you don't have ladders now, start out with a 4 or a 6. 6 is pretty dang versatile. A 4 is really versatile too. But get the kind. And I mean, don't get a cheap ladder. Get a really good ladder. All right. And you know, be careful. You know, platform ladders are great. Extension ladders are fantastic. And don't forget extension ladders. Working with height to make sure you're anchored. Right. I've had one slide and I've ridden an anchor down. It was pretty hairy. It was not any fun at all. Okay, so we're gonna do. I took a roll, right? Now let me just see if anybody showed up. Nobody showed up in here. So as far as I know, the people that I have a question mark is Eric Garcia Mendez and Art Nelson. No? Okay, you guys aren't there? No. Brandon, I got Brandon, Donna, Ryder, and Michael. You guys seeing me? No, you're seeing types of ladders. Okay. So let's get, I'm gonna stop the share and come back to, who's that? Oh, what's the class? I'm gonna come back to, I got the pin on. Okay, let's get, let's get both lights. Get both lights, please. On, both lights on. Thanks. Come on. Why, what happened this week? Great. Yeah. I guess Joe Biden's pretty much confirmed. Is any Trump supporters out there? Sorry. Well, that's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm not gonna get political in any way, shape, or form. At least not right now. Okay, so you can see the board. Who's ever done a deck? Johnson, a deck? Anybody else here done a deck? Laid out a deck? Who here has done a handrail system? Balustrade, newels, top rail, bottom rail, balusters. Okay, so it's not so much, it's a little beyond basic finished carpentry, but it's borderline, because decks, I'm gonna show you how to build a deck. We're gonna do a sample easy deck. I'll blow through a whole bunch of stuff that need to be, want to qualify if you're gonna do decks first time. But we'll get to the place where the balusters are, and I want to give you this whole thing on a deck and a simple balustrade and equal spacing. But I also want to tell you that, see, this is what works, man. I mean, I get out of breath when I talk this month. So next week, and for the people that aren't here, I hope you can come. Anybody that's on the fence about coming face to face, come, because we got room and we're distanced and we're masked up, except for me right now, but everybody out here is masked up, and we've got 8 feet, 8 feet, 8 feet, 8 feet, and I'm 10 or 12, so You know, we've got some good distancing going on. And I can turn that fan on too, it's just a little loud sometimes, but we'll open a couple of windows and get some cross ventilation. Next week, Jerry DeHogue is coming. So who knows who Jerry DeHogue is? Jerry DeHogue. I'll try to, I'll find and I'll embed, I got it on my phone, so I can get it. I'll get it, so you guys can see it, I'll get it on the Canvas shell, a link to an article from the Independent, just a month ago about Jerry. Doesn't do him justice, but to give you a little bit of sense of him, he's got a company called Trimworks. And they're pretty much between Byron Beck and Ben Ewok, not Ewok, Ewart. I can't think of his name. It's Ewart, Ben Ewart. Those guys, Ben, Trimworks, and Solid Rock, which is Byron Beck. Those are the three big names and you know, big companies that are really pretty renowned around here for finish work. And yeah, Byron worked for me. I don't know Ben at all, other than to say hello to him. And Jerry never worked for me, but Jerry will be here in the flesh, pulling his giant new trailer, filled with tools. I mean, filled with, I don't know, he's probably got a dozen levels, at least that many butt templates, 30 routers, sanders. He's just got a really good setup for doors. And he will job hang a door for us. He'll bench hang it to the jamb, and he'll hang it in the opening, and he'll bore it and hardware it for us. And then we'll trim it. Maybe, I doubt that day. That'll take us. That'll be a good class next week. It'll be a long one. So I'm planning to pop that door. I've already hung that door twice. So I think I'm gonna have to get a new door. Anyway, Jerry DeHogue will be here in the flesh, demoing, and you'll see a very accomplished, very highly skilled, very highly paid finished carpenter at work. So don't miss that. It's really worth seeing. Jerry DeHogue. Okay, now where was I? Somebody help me here. John Sesser. John emailed me a week or so ago, over a week ago, and he said something about closet depth. Remember? Could you tell me again what your comment or question was? Something about over 24.
The diagram stuff you were showing was a 24-inch deep outside sheetrock, inside sheetrock dip, right?
Yeah.
And by the time you take the doors and stuff into account, you have a little bit less than that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the closets I've done, it seems like a maximum between base and base, if it's an inside
Yeah.
aircraft, should be 24. And it seems like stuff fits a little nicer. Maybe I have big clothes.
No, I kind of misunderstood you. I thought you were just talking about it. You thought it would be better to have deeper closets than 24. But really, no, it's not better. 24 is the closet you need for clothes, unless two things. One is you've got the space, but don't use it for clothes. You know, make it a deep enough space so you can get some returns and use that material, because it's way too much depth for clothes. What I was going to do, and when I answered you, is that you're right. If you're framing to 24, right? Let's say it's 25 1/4. Because you're going to put 5/8 rock and 5/8 rock, and you're going to wind up with 24 net, right? But in that wall, you got, king stud and trimmer, and then return, and then your closet starts. You just reduced it by 3.5. So you could still use that closet. You've now made it 21 1/2. Wait, you reduced it by 3.5, so you made it 22. You made it 21 3/4, right? Finish. And that'll work. 20 will work, but the shoulders of the stuff you put on hangers, when you get that pole dead center, will brush the size of the closet. So if you don't want that to happen, 24, and nothing will. Everything will fit in a 24 deep. So yeah, you want to get that, and it really is 25 1/4 frame to frame, because you're gonna lose 5/8 and 5/8. So with a closet like this, at 24, that's gonna stay 24, because you're gonna put 5/8 and 5/8, right? It's gonna cancel each other out. But that's only if you got like a face frame and a door hanging outside that. Then you'll get your, if that's a niche, and then you're gonna slide a cabinet in there anyway, so it isn't gonna matter. So 24, and the reason for 24, well, it's really what you need to get.
Room is a concern. One other thing that my dad does is he makes them closer to 30, but they all have internal lighting.
Yeah.
And if you're 24, the clothes are so tight that the light
Yeah,
doesn't
no,
make
that's,
it run.
if you've got the depth to get can lights or some kind of lights, and actually, the closet lights are very specifically called out per code, per IDC, right?
Mhm.
They can't get hot, and I think they have to be fluorescent, they have to be a certain kind of bulb, right? But that's a great idea.
We use, or when I worked in the music, we use those LED strip lights mounted
Yeah.
right above the header.
Yeah.
And there was a certain minimum distance that to the first shelf or maybe the clothes or something that made us push the closets bigger, but these are in big houses. My house, I couldn't fit a 30
If
inch
you've got the room for 30 inches, then you can, to get the lighting there, it's a commodious closet, it's a great way to go. Typically, we're not. I'm typically crunching space. But there are also, when you design a closet for somebody, you want to know what they're gonna put in, right? And it's good to know, it's like, well, if we have the depth, we could give you 30 inches deep, and then you could either return, have hooks, you could have shelves that do a U shape, or we can get, lights up here, because you're right. Although your shelf and pole in 24 deep is only 12 out, so you still have room for lights. You still have room for can lights, you have room for a fluorescent fixture over the header, which is typically how it's done, so. If you got the depth and you have a need for it, deep closets are good, but 24 is what you need. And you can go all the way down to 20 if you totally messed up. If you went, oh man, those guys framed this at, 25 and a quarter, and we just encroached, and now we only have 21 and 3/4, it'll still work. Okay, so that's the closet thing. I wanted to address it, I didn't. Are you guys hearing me okay out there?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So,
Hey, Rod.
Yes.
This is Eric. I was kind of late.
so who's here?
Eric Mendez.
Oh, good. Yeah, you need to chime in and tell me.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm here too.
Who's on?
Victor.
Oh, Victor, you made it. Good. Right on. So the 2 question marks. Wait, what about Art Nelson? Where's he at? So Eric, you made it.
I'm right here.
Eric Garcia, yeah, I see you right there. And Victor, you made it? Yeah, I said you were gonna make it. I said you were gonna make it, and you actually did. And Eric, you're remote. Okay, so right now I got showing remote. I got Donna, Victor Gallegos, Eric Garcia, Brandon, Michael Silva, and Ryder. You guys are all remote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you, right? 4, 5, 6. Okay, cool. Who am I missing? Who did I? Okay. Decks. So if you get a chance to do a deck, by all means, do it, whatever it takes. Because if you want to do carpentry, or if you are a carpenter, or if you want to improve your carpentry skills, or if you like carpentry, if you like working with wood, decks are just the cat's pajamas, man. Because generally, you're tying to a house on one place, and then the rest is up to you. It's like building a brand new house, only it's building a brand new deck. Okay, so we're gonna have a house. Let's look at this in plan view first. Here's a house. got some windows. It's got some doors. And you want to put a deck on it. We're gonna put a 24-foot deck. So we're gonna come out. We can come right off the house, and actually we're gonna come because we're gonna fascia it. We're gonna come a couple inches, maybe 2 inches in. The details on this, I'm not gonna get too crazy with, because if you're actually doing it, that's when you'd work it out, right? And we're gonna come out. We're gonna make this guy come out. We're gonna come 12 feet out. And 24. And the decking material, it's gonna have ledger. Probably a 2x8 ledger. It's gonna have 2x6 joist, 16-inch center, and the decking's gonna run this way. And let's make it, yeah, we'll make it 12. 12-0. So let's go ahead and make it 36. There's your deck, 12 by 36, attached to an existing house. Not too tough so far, right? Okay, so let's build this thing. Let's show the house is sitting on a raised foundation. This is all stucco siding. Let's do that way. Okay. Let's say you got 2x8 floor joists. This is stucco. This is your sill for your doorway. So we want to be about, ideally our decking wants to tuck right under that sill. So let's go ahead 1.5 inches down and plant that ledger. And then remember, this will be masonry, or maybe this is a cripple wall. Regardless, you need to get that. And we're gonna use a 2x. You can use 4x, but there's no reason not to use a 2x. I'm gonna use a 2x8, and I'm gonna lag bolt it. And I'm gonna bolt it into either cripple wall, or I'll bolt it, I'll put masonry anchors, or I'll epoxy it in, right? So I'm gonna hang a ledger. And my deck board, my first deck board, 1.5 inches is gonna tuck right under there. So when you step over that threshold, it's gonna step right down onto a deck board. But the framing part is the joists will be out here. Actually, I said a 2x8 ledger and 2x6 joists. And so I'm not really gonna tell you about the framing part so much, because this is what holds it on this end, and at 12 feet out, you know, you can cantilever this thing. I probably have a mid-span support, you know, a 4x or 6x sitting on a pier block. It was down into the dirt and concrete. And then out here, I'd have a girder, probably have a cantilever. 4x8, maybe 6x8, I'd have it engineered, right? And then that'd be sitting, posted at either end, and some kind of a pure block down in concrete. And your decking is on top, right? Everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
And can you see, can you guys see at home?
Yeah. Can
Yeah,
Okay, is that, okay,
yeah, but that's better. Thank you.
okay,
see. Good.
okay. So and the deck boards are gonna go at 1.5 inches, running this way. 2x6, gap with a nail gap. Hung blind, there's a variety of ways to hang decking, I'm not gonna get into that either. A variety of ways to hang a deck, you can nail it with 60-penny galvanized nails. 2 nails per board and a nail gap between the boards. You do that so that water and dirt and anything else can go down between the boards and go down below. You're not trying to make a solid deck. That's a whole different ballgame. We're not doing that. And you wouldn't just butt boards to do that. You'd use a TNG of some sort, but that's just kind of it's not a good idea. So outside decks, 2x6 Conhart or the composites, I'm not really into Trex these days. Like Timber Tech is really killer. And I think that's what we have out here, that pile of stuff out here. I think that's Timber Tech. It's a composite wrapped with like a really hard vinyl. It just wears like iron and good looking. You can get like this blue cedar color or red. They have the wood graining. It's a pretty good way to go. But and there are ways to fasten that, and nailing is not one of them. Don't nail those. Use a stainless steel screw or a small deck screw, or they have these blind fasteners that go into the groove and lock onto the joist and lock down the groove. It's a really cool way to go. But again, I'm not going to get into that. I want to get into this railing for you. Okay. So we're going to put 4x4s for newels to make a railing. So in balustrades, handrail systems, rail systems, guardrails, you've got newels, which are your upright posts. We're gonna plant one here.
Are you saying newels or noodles?
Yeah, a flat egg noodle. So, yeah, newels. And then you've got a, this looks brand new. So newels are newel posts, right? Newel posts. And then you got, in this deck, you're gonna have a top and bottom rail. And you're gonna have a finish top rail. All redwood. And Conhart Select is good. Your 2x2 balustrade, then you're also gonna have balusters. And I'm sorry we won't be building this, but if we want to, if you guys want to at any point, we could go outside and you could see it. Because we did this sort of balustrade running up the stairs that we built and up on the guardrail for deck. But this guy's gonna get newels, 4x4 newels, gonna get one there, one in the middle, 6 feet, one there, 4 inches off the corner, or yeah, 4 inches off the corner, I think 2 inches off the corner maybe, another one there, 2 inches off the corner, and we'll get, that's right, 6 spaces. And you notice, or I don't know if you do notice, but I'm going into the deck. And I'm doing 6-foot spacing, right? And here I think about 2 inches away. 2 inches away. Yeah, I'm going into the deck because in a cross section, and this 4x4 post, 4x4, which is S4S, right? Which means what?
Surface four sides.
Surface 4 sides. It's a board store thing. It's going to net 3.5, 3.5, right? 3.5, 3.5. Follow me? Okay, we're gonna make a cut. I usually make this cut on a bandsaw, but we're gonna cut all of our newels, and we're gonna cut a lead in 1.5 inches by, well, let's see, 1.5 and 7.5. Let's say, yeah, let's say we do a fascia. We're doing a fascia, right? We've wrapped a fascia around this, which is 2x8. So 2x6 joists, but we've wrapped a nice clean 2x8 fascia, right? And the fascia's on. So we're gonna go up against the fascia. We're gonna go all the way down in 2x8, 7.5. So we're gonna go 9 inches up. We're gonna run these wild. And we're gonna run them wild past .36. Because really, they're gonna be cut at 34.5 will be their finish.
So you mean by running wild, you're just meaning the length is over the finish length, and then you're gonna cut them after they're installed.
34.5 off the deck will be finished, right? And so if you're cutting at 36 plus, there's similar, then yeah, that's running them wild. Right? You don't want to cut them too close or wild. Run them, give yourself a couple of 2 or 3 inches of cut off. But run them wild. Now, you need to shoot the deck the ledger and the girders and all that stuff that you hopefully were doing level. And if you weren't doing a level, you might be doing some fall this way. But let's just say you're doing a level. There's no reason to give your deck fall. None. You don't need to. Your water's not going anywhere, but through the gaps in the boards. That's where your water goes. Your water can't run this way because there's a gap in the board. So if it runs, it's only got to run 5.5 inches, and you don't want to tilt it this way. So a level deck is a good thing, right? So let's just say, for purpose of argument, this deck is level, but you want to shoot it and make sure it's level. And if it's not, then you need to go with your lowest or highest point.
Highest point.
You need to go with the highest point, right? Because if this deck let's see, how do I explain the house? Okay. Where's the house? The house keeps going, right? House is up here. But the deck, here's the fascia. Right, and a face view. Here's the house beyond. Here's a newel post. That's a bad line. There's a newel post. If the deck this way, right? So down view of the house, elevation view of the deck. Newel post. this level, you got level this way, and you got level this way. So this would be to fall away from the house. Let's say that's gonna be level. You you built a level, you have your intention to make it level, and you made it level, and you made it level this way. Because if it wasn't level, you'd have to go with the highest point. Because if 36 is your code minimum, and I'll give you guys a handout, or I'll get it in the canvas show at some point. I'll get you a handout. From the city, I think. Shoot, I just had it in my hand. Look familiar? Yeah, that's okay. Okay. So the, yeah. Huh. Oh, well, I got a handout and I'll find it. It's from the city of Santa Barbara. Oh, sorry, Donna. This is from the city. I know you guys are bitter rivals, just kidding. So anyway, it's specifications for codes on handrails and guardrails for heights and all the things I'm going to talk about tonight that you're going to need to know. There's only a couple of things you need to know. One of them is that 36. Okay, 36. You can't have a guardrail less than 36. Well, you know what? Now they're calling them 42. Honestly, okay. Vertical within 36 inches horizontally. Top of guardrails shall not be less than 42 inches in height. Okay, fine. So we're going to go 42, not 36. So you just want to make sure that this is past 42. The top of that to run wild, right? We're going with a 42 incher now. 42 inch guardrail. Finish, which means we've shot this level. Our deck and deck boards are on there. It's dead level, and we shot it this way. It's dead level, so we're golden. So we're going to wind up being level, which is really great. If you can do that in the foundation process and your layout process, when you get the ledger on, and get your girders, your piers, and get everything dead level, it makes building a heck of a lot easier. So we've laid this out. You've decked it, right? It's already decked. All the deck joists are running, joists are run, the deck's on top, and now you've taken a typical mill post, which is, this is 7.5, this is 1.5, so that's 9 inches, and you've made it look like this. You've taken a post and you've made it cut 1.5 inches in by 9 inches down out of that 4x4 post. Right? You let it in. And you've done that, 9 and 42 is 51. So you're going to go 52. You're going to cut all those babies 52. Because your finish is going to be more like, if it finishes at 42, it's really going to be finishing at 40 and a half. 40 and a half is where it'll finish, because your top rail is going to go right over it. So 40 and a half, and then your top rail, 40 and a half plus 1.5 inches top rail, that'll make you finish at 42. Right, so you're finishing at 40 and a half plus the 9 is 49 and a half, so 52 is plenty. You could really go 50, that's cutting it too fine. So how does 52 work? That's 104, it's a 9. It doesn't work very well, but 48 doesn't work, right? So you can't use you can't use an 8-foot stick and get 2 noodles out. This is what you want to be thinking about, right? You're going to make what? 3, 6, and 7 more, right? Yeah. 3, 6, 7, so 13, you're going to make 13 noodles. So in making 13 noodles, you want to get the best use of materials. Ideally, in a 36-inch rail, you could have gone around an 8. But now guardrails have to be 42. They were 36 for a long time. Okay, a long time. But now they're 42. So at 42, The minimum is 50, is 51, less than an inch and a half, so 49 and a half. Just doesn't work. You're gonna have to buy, and you're not gonna wanna buy 18s. In other words, a 9 would work, right? A 9 would be great. 108 inches. If you do 252s is 104, you're not very much fall off on that, but you have to buy 18s. And the problem with buying 18s is getting good straight ones. Now you're gonna cut them into 52-inch lengths, so if you can envision 4 of your 52s in an 18, then get 18s, otherwise you're gonna buy 10s. And you're gonna need, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of them. 13 4x4 by 52 inches rough. Now really, your deck's not level, okay? Your deck's not level. It's out of level. It just is out of level. But by the time you got the thing done, it's settled a little bit and it falls downhill at least, 3/4 of an inch in this 36 feet, which is nothing that you're ever going to feel or see. Nobody in this room, nobody on the planet is going to see or feel that 3/4 on it. It's going to disappear in 36 feet, but it's going to be there. Okay. So rather than have this thing be level, let's make it out of level. So it's out of level. And you know it's out of level, and that's the reason if it was dead level, you wouldn't have to do what I'm suggesting. You could just cut everything right now. Because by bolting up every one of these guys at 52 inches high, right, or thereabouts, somewhere over 49 and a half, every one of them, you've done all this, right? You made this cut on miter guide on the table saw. You've made this cut on the bandsaw, or you've made both cuts on the bandsaw. But you've cut out your 13 posts. You've chopped them at 52. You've made that let in. Now you've bolted them all with lag bolts or machine bolts. A lag bolt, if you got 3 inches of material to go into, lag them. 3 or 4 inches, lag them. But really, a machine bolt is going to be a way stronger connection. So, and if some of you don't know what I'm talking about, a lag bolt has a hex head and a smooth shank, and then it's got threads that cuts itself, drives itself through a pilot, kind of like a big Phillips wood screw, but you drive it with a hex head. It's got a hex head. It's faceted. And a machine bolt, and that's driven into solid wood, driven into it. And if you've got at least 4 inches of bite, you're golden. Whereas a machine bolt has got a same exact hex head, same exact shank, only its shank's about that long, and then the rest of it is machine threaded, which takes a washer and a nut, which you crank on. Right, wrench on the bolt head, either way. So machine bolt, way more positive connection if you can get it. Lag bolt will work if you get at least 4 inches of bite, and less really, but 4 inches of bite. Because you don't want anybody falling off your guardrail. Let's say it's a good. Let's say this is 30 inches down from the deck to the ground. So you can get hurt. You can break things. You can die, depending upon what you land on. Okay, so we've cut 13, so which means we've got what 7 10s, and we cut them in half. We got 14, so we made an extra newel just for the hell of it or not. We saved it. We cut off. We made 14 of these. 52 inches, and we bolted them. We bored and we machine bolted it because we could do that, and that's the way we set it up, right? And we don't have any joists in our way. We made sure of that when we laid it out. And another thing we did when we laid this out is we made these two spaces exactly the same, and also exactly the same here, because we laid that out that way, right? We did the carpentry clean enough that this dimension here is the same as this dimension here. And actually we could slightly fudge it anyway, because we're holding these back from the corners. We can't put one on the corner. This doesn't work, to hold it back. And the one thing we've got to do, and we've got to do this here, it's the only time it comes into play with newels, otherwise it's balusters, is we've got to create a spacing that can't be greater than 4 inches. You cannot create a space greater than 4 inches in a balustrade or a guardrail. It's deemed that a baby's head could go through that, and that's the litmus test, 4 inches. So 4 inches and smaller is okay. 4 1/8, 4 1/16, 4 1/4, 4 1/2, not okay. Okay, for spacing. So, but we're good enough carpenters, and we've laid this out. So this is exactly, and let's just pick a number. If it's 12 feet, that's 144 inches. 7 less these, and say we're back there to the edge of that. Oh God, I don't want to have to do the math. These 6 inches, so 138 less 7, 131, so 65. So just for purposes of argument, okay? This may or may not be right because I just don't feel like crunching the numbers. Let's just call it 65. And we've been able to make these spaces exactly 65. There, and here, right? 65. So now we have 4 equal spaces at 65. And then this thing, have you got a calculator, John?
I do.
Could you take 36 times 12, please? What is it?
36 times 12,
Yeah.
432.
Okay, and then would you take 7 times 3.5? 20, what is it?
Uh, 24.5.
Okay, let's call it 25. And then we're gonna come back I think 2 inches aside. I think that's it. So we'll go another 4, so we'll make that 29. So 9 from 12 is 3, and 2 from 1 is 9. 393, right? 393. And then do 393 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
$65.5.
Isn't that 403?
Wait, that's not right. That's not right. So back up a second. I'm just doing too much in my head. Do 432 minus 29. 493? 393?
403.
393, right?
403.
God, no kidding. 403 divided by 6.
67.1667.
67.1 something?
1
Okay. Okay, so we're going to be able to fudge either side and get exactly 67 inches. That's what I'm talking about. If you can do that, if you can do your layout, and it's totally doable. You can see that, right? Because you got this fudge factor here. So you want to come up with 6 equal numbers that fill this space up, that are decent spacing. Like that's 5'7". That's a good spacing that's good spacing. 8 feet's too much. 7 feet. So really, I like 6 feet for balustrades and under, but not much less than 4. So ideal 6. Ideal at 6.
You're saying the fudge factor is the newels on the corners?
Yes, because blowing up the corner, right? If this is the depth corner, we're going to come 2 inches back. That's approximate. 2 inches back. Right, and that gives us a space less than 4. And so we can play with this. We can bring this way. We can bring it that way to lose or gain in fractions of an inch to get our numbers equal. So now, if you were to take 7 times 3.5, which is 29, 28.5, plus 6 times 67. Well, let's see what it is. What's 6 times 67?
402.
402. And then 7 times 3.5 again? 28.5?
4.5.
4.5. So that's 426.5, right? 426.5. And how much, so 426.5 is 6 spaces by 67, 7 newel posts by 3.5 feet. That's 426.5. And our run is 36 times 12. What's our run? 36 times 12, John? 434? Is that what it is?
432.
432.
Okay.
We have 35 feet of post length, 35.5 feet.
432 in inches, 426.5 in inches. So the difference is 5.5, right? Yeah, 5.5 and 426 is 432. So we have 5.5 to make up. And we need to add, actually, we don't really have to add that. It's not right, because it goes this way. Anyway, you get the picture?
Yeah.
I don't want to get lost in the details and crunch all the numbers because that takes some time. I want to give you the concept of how to do this. And then the individual deck would have their own numbers, right? Okay. So 65s are close enough for government work and the 67s are close enough for the illustration of this, but I wouldn't build it like that without, I mean, really. And the beauty of it is a layout like this, you can lay it out right on the deck. I mean, I would build this on paper. And then I would build it. And then I would measure it and see if I built it exactly how I drew it. And then based on how I built it, regardless of how I drew it, but how I built it, then I would crunch the numbers. And I would probably crunch them right on the deck. I'd probably start laying out and making pencil lines and maybe put something on there so I'm not penciling on my deck boards, put a sheet of painter's mask, and just lay them out until they worked. Until I got equal numbers for all 6 spaces. This is a piece of cake here, right? You just move this ever so slightly. And then ideally you want to keep that. So it doesn't have to be an even number. It can be anything as long as it's the same number. Follow me? So you could do this, you can make that exactly 2 inches off and exactly 2 inches off and make this the same number and it can be a fraction. I'm just making it a round number because I think it'll be easier for what we're doing. Okay, so everybody follow me so far? Everybody at home follow me so far?
So you're saying we're adding up the total width of the post.
Yeah.
Subtracting that from the total and then dividing that by 6 to find.
Yeah, and with a little bit of fudge, if we could call that 4 inches, right? Take that 4 inches off and then divide it up, then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if we wanna, like, if it's close enough, we wanna fudge a little bit to get it to an even number, we can do that. But for purposes of argument, yeah, you take this whole 432 less 4 down to 428, right? Because that's really where we're going from. I'm pulling from there. But really, I would just lay this out on the deck. I won't even consider it. This is like a story pole. Why wouldn't you? It's gonna work there. So it works, and you've done it, and you've laid it out, and it works. And the tape says it works, and the deck says it works. So you're golden. So now you go to the shop. You're not doing this in the field. You're going to your garage or your boss's shop or your own shop or wherever where you have a bandsaw or whatever tools that you need. You're not necessarily dragging them to the site, or maybe you are dragging them to the site. Doesn't really matter, right? And you're making 13 of these guys by 52 inches. And you're boring them on your drill press, on the multiple drill presses. You're boring these 2 holes. So that now you can lay them all out, do pilots where the holes are, take them off, bore all the way through, bolt them on, right? Get every one of these bolted on, just finger tight. And plumbed this way with shims either top or bottom. If your fascia is not dead plumb, you can shim top or bottom to get it plumbed this way and then plumb this way. And that's just a matter of you cranking it while it's plumb and hopefully it being plumb. You need to have it held plumb when you bore it. This way. Doesn't matter so much this way, although it does. So the closer to plumb it is when you bore it, the better, right? Get it bored, bore it dead plumb, bolt it all on, plumb them up, don't tighten them up, but get them tight, but don't crank on them, don't torque them. Get them all plumbed up like that, and then shoot the levels of the nulls, right? And establish a level line. So irregardless of where your level line is, it doesn't really matter. It makes no difference whatsoever. It's wherever your level line hits, and let's just say it hits at the high point of the deck. The level line hits at 32. At the highest point of the deck. And you want the thing to be 40 and a half, right? Forty and 1/2, that's the magic number off your deck. So 32 and minus 40 and a half minus 32 is 8.5, right? So 32 plus 8.5 will get you to the 40 and a half. So you're going to add 8.5 to that, and you're going to cut it off from the 32 mark. Now that 32 mark that you measured from your high point of the deck, and you know it's high because that 32 registered almost 33 over here. Now imagine if you started at the low part and went this way, then now you're shrinking it. Your guardrail has to be 42 inches minimum, not maximum. It can go anywhere from 42, as long as it's 42 minimum. Follow me? Just like that 4-inch space can go anywhere. It can go to nothing, as long as it's not bigger than 4 inches. Okay, so the minimum. So that's great. So now you have a level line, which is irrespective of what we really want, which is 40 and a half, somewhere on those posts. And we're saying that we measure from the high point of the deck, and it's 32. It happens to be, that line happens to be 32 there, which means it gets 9 inches. And then every other post we pull off, we number the posts, and we add 9 inches to the level line, which we marked, and we cut them off. So now when they're bolted back on, but they're not going back on yet, we're going to machine them some more. We've only put them on wild, plumbed them up, got the level line, indexed them for level, pulled them off, and cut them all off dead level. So now those posts are I'm not trying this very well, am I? And then there's their deck in between. This isn't there yet. But the deck's there, the deck and the deck fascia is there, right? And now the posts are all there, and they're dead level. And the highest point of the deck, they're 40 and a half inches. At the highest point, they're at the highest point, they're 40 and a half from the deck boards. And so if you add an 1.5 inch finished top rail to those deck boards, you're going to finish at 42, which is where you want to finish, and it's going to run dead level. And it might be, since we know this is 3/4 low, it'll be 40 and 42 and 3/4 down, but that's fine. You're in there, and you've got a level deck, and you're going to be level this way too, because you've done the same thing here. So all these guys are level, and you've got 4 65-inch spaces, newel to newel, post to post, and 6 67-inch spaces, newel to newel, post to post. Now, before you before you bolt these posts back up, you need to do something to them. You're gonna machine them further. So what those posts are gonna look like when you get done with them. They're gonna be, they're gonna have this cutout here, which is 1.5 by 9, right? Gonna have a little 45 or 22.5 at the bottom. And this is 2 inches of meat here. And that's gonna go up to, this one here is gonna be what? What did we say it was gonna be? Oh, it's gonna be 40, it's 40.5. It's 40.5, and depending upon the post, it's gonna either have, it's gonna cut for 40.5, and then it's gonna have 1.5 inches. No, it's gonna have a three, that's right. It's gonna have a 3/4 1.5 deep by 3/4 let in. Probably should have drawn this standing up. So this is laying down. That's probably not the best way to illustrate it for you. So I'm going to draw it standing up. Just try to get. Okay, so standing up. Yeah, that's way better. Way better. 2 inches of top, or more than that. 3/4 ledge by 1.5 inches. Going to come down 3/4 by 1.5 inches. Right. And then the outside. Oh, shit. Are you following? Anybody following this? Okay, so that's a typical newel. And that would be a newel, like, that would be that newel, or that newel, or that newel, or that newel, that newel, or that newel, but none of the ones in between, because the ones in between are gonna look like this. They're gonna have 1.5 inches down by 3/4. And they're gonna have 1.5 inches down by 3/4. And they're gonna come down. And they're gonna have a let in. They're gonna have a let in. That's all these guys, right? Looking at them face on. So that the bottom rail is gonna keep going like that, right? You with me so far? This takes the sub top rail, and this takes the bottom rail. Those let ins. I'm gonna draw that better, and I think maybe it'll come clear. It's clear to me now. Any questions? Questions? No questions?
Do the let-ins make the rails, do they sit in flush with the let-ins?
Yes. They do. You sit flush. Wow, this is so hard. I should stop sniveling. Sorry, guys, for being a whiner about how hard it is to draw straight. Okay. Okay, and then that guy goes over. All right. Huh. Let's say this is the end. That's a 3/4 ledge. That's an end. And this is one balustrade run with a bottom rail, sub top rail, which is going to eventually get a 2x6 finished top rail, which is going to cap all that. And it's going to run around and miter, be on top of all this stuff, right? Because it'll be, if you can picture it, here's your 4x4 post, that 2x6 cap. So this is 3.5. 2x6 is 5.5. So it's going to be 1 inch past and 1 inch past as it goes by. So if you were looking at it, you'd have the sub top rail here, and then the finish rail, and a really nice clear redwood here.
So those are both top rails?
Yeah, this would be the sub top rail and the bottom rail, and then you've got the finished top rail. So this is the sub top rail, finished top rail, and this is the bottom rail. Okay, now, are any of you seeing the beauty of this yet? How this works?
Yeah.
Because and this is the thing that really ties it all together. And the fun part would be burning this mask. The fun part would be,
I would have brought
I
in
think
some
what the hell I was
4x4
gonna say.
scrap.
Say it again, please.
I would have brought in some 4x4 scrap and some 2x4s.
Yeah, and we can do that. We can play around with it. There's so much to this that what I want you to get is that you can do the deck. You can build a deck on site, right? Carpentry at its best. And then you can do the finished carpentry part, the deck rail, the guardrail, basically in the shop by just doing one. And you can do variations on this theme. You could shoot levels and establish level lines and pull lines on batter boards and just put your stuff up there and cut it all and bolt it on one time. You could do it that way. I kind of learned doing it this way, putting them up wild, shooting that level, getting them level, taking them off, taking them to the shop and cutting all the dados. Cutting every one of them, the mid posts, the mid span posts with a dado, or these would be rabbits on either side, and then dado, cross grain dadoed in this bottom rail, right? And these are all, so, okay, now here's something I didn't tell you. So we went with the highest part for our level, right? Highest part. So we could go to the 42 minimum. Now we know we need to go with our lowest part for our 4 inches. So you need to go with your lowest part and measure your 4 inches, because as it climbs up, it can get less than 4 inches, but it can't get greater. So we can't start at the high part and do the 4 inches, because it'll be greater than 4 inches by the time we get down here. So at the low part of the deck, the 3/4 low, measure up onto this post from your level line of you get 4 inches, get this lead in here, because this lead in here needs to be, and especially at this, at the low part of the deck, right? Low part of the deck, it needs to be, this is the deck. Four inches. Okay, got to be 4 inches, no less than 4 inches, and then as the deck climbs up, it'll be less than 4 inches. I mean, I'm sorry, no more than 4 inches, but it can be less. Okay, so that's that indication. So that's going to be a number, and that number you're going to measure down from here, because everything's cut. You cut from here, right? So this, this lead in is, this guy is 5.5 inches. Right, this begins 5.5 inches from the deck. Actually, you've made a 4-inch mark, so that's the bottom of your lead in. These lead ins are 3/4 of an inch too, by the way. That's pretty important. 3/4 of an inch. Same
Hey,
thing
Rod.
here. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I gotta get going, but if do you record after the break? I'll just watch the rest of it after.
Yeah, no, I'll do it. And then would somebody please remind me to record after the break?
Thank you very much. Sorry about that.
Yeah, hey, it's okay. Thanks for being up front.
No worries. Have a good night.
Not sneaking away. You too. Later. Later. What time is it? We're gonna go. I'm gonna go on for. We're gonna knock this out. So I still haven't got to the beauty of this yet. This is actually pretty simple. This is really not rocket science. I mean, you might some of you might have trouble grasping the level thing. It'll come to you. But the idea is to shop make this stuff based on your level lines. Once you get the lines established and these guys up, and you got a level, you have a level tops to work with, and you just measure down. So well, let's see. If this is 40.5, if this is 40.5, and that's 5.5 up, then that's what 40. That's 35, right? 35 also less inch and a half, so it should be 33.5. I think, right? 33.5. That sound right?
Yeah.
If that's 33.5, and that's 1.5, then that gets it to 35, and that's 1.5, so that's 36.5, and that's 4, that's 40.5, and that's what our post is. Okay, that's right. Again, I didn't want to get too hung up on the math. 40.5 to there, right? Yeah, and then we're 9 inches down too. So our posts are 49.5 total. 49.5 total. At least the one at the highest part of the deck is. Anyway, we're past that. Your posts are cut. Your posts are they're let in for the long let ins done. Now 1.5 by 9 inch let in, and the 45 that's done. And and you can't really see that. The 45 would be right here. The bolts would be down in here. This is not a very good scale. This is longer than that, 9 inches longer. So this would probably carry down, closer to the way we're drawing it down like that. So you have a 45 here, a whole bolt there, 4 inches up, you got to let in. And then from 40.5 top, you got another let in, 3/4 of an inch. This shelf is 3/4 of an inch, and it's 1.5 inches thick. So it's thick enough to receive your top rail. And now you're going to make your balustrades, but you're not going to make them in place. You're going to make them on the bench. You're going to make them right here. You're going to take this, what do we got here? 33.5, right? That's our baluster. 33.5. So with a 33.5 inch baluster, and through nailed 1.5 inch top rail and bottom rail, you're going to wind up with 36.5 inches of space, and then the 4 inches, 40.5, and the top rail going to be 42 inches. It'll be perfect. The numbers work out. Perfect. So you're going to you can cut all your balusters at 33.5. Do you know how many you're going to cut? Not really. So let's find out, right? Because we only have two quotients to come up with. Two numbers, man. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Not 10 numbers. We could have 10 numbers to come up with, right? There's 10 spaces there. So there's 10 individual balustrades post to post. We're going to build a balustrade. We're going to build this with the 2x2s on it, right? We're going to lay those 2x2s out. I'm going to teach you right now how to get perfect centers so that the spacing is exact and you don't have this funk dog spacing that I see so much where people miss it and they get a narrow space here, a narrow space here, and everything else is equal. That's not what we're getting. We're getting every space is equal, and every space is 4 inches or less, usually less. Let's see the beauty of that. You could do 10 numbers and do 10 quotients and make 10 cuts. Times, in each balustrade, your 33.5s are gonna be the same. It's the two 2x4 top, the top and bottom rail, sub-top rail and the bottom rail. There's gonna be 20 of those, right? It's gonna be 20 of those cut. And you can make 10 different cuts, or you can make 4 of one and 8 of one and 12 of the other, right? Yeah, 8 of one and 12 of the other. That's what we're gonna do. Because we laid this out perfectly, so we got the same numbers and it works out great. And so to build these balustrades on the bench, let's just take, and Jonathan, would you mind doing the math for me, please?
Yeah.
Let's take, bring it home, see me? There's a formula here, and the formula is we need the newel to newel, this is called post to post. Post to post dimension equals what? Oh, 6. Let's start with 65, right? Equals 65 plus 1 baluster. Okay, so if I didn't tell you before, these are 4x4s, these are 2x2s, these are 2x4s, and the top rails are 2x6. Simple stuff, all stuff you can buy at the board store. And I suggest not buying fir. Do it in redwood. And you can just adapt this to ePay, or you can adapt this to anything. You can adapt it to TimberTech too, for that matter. Okay, so we need the post-to-post dimension, which is 65 for these 4 numbers, these 4 runs. We're going to build 4 individual balustrades. We're going to build these on the bench, and we're going to slide them in to their dados and their notch, and then we're going to screw them down in. And we're going to build those once we cut the top rails and the bottom rails. We're going to just lay them out with pencil marks, and we're going to shoot through. And we're going to shoot through the 2x4 rail, bottom and top rail, with a galvanized finish nail. And if you look down, and this was a 2x2, we'd be hitting it with a nail there and a nail there. So it's nailed 2 nails that way, 2 nails that way. Okay. Now the spacing, back to the spacing. We need the post-to-post dimension, which is 65. We need a baluster, which is 1.5 inches, makes it 66.5. That's the number. Now we need that number, simple one. Post-to-post dimension, plus 1.5 inches. And let's go ahead and do them both. So 165, 167, 166.5, 168. Wait. 168.5, right? 166.5, 168.5. Correct? Okay. Now we need to we'll take the first one, 66.5 divided by 5.5. 5.5. What is it, John? 66.5 divided by 5.5.
12 and 16.
Okay, 12 and 0.0625.
0.09091.
Okay, we'll call it a 16th. 12 and 1/16. Right? Okay, good. I like it. Except, yeah, we don't need the 16th part here. So, okay, this is really important. So in this formula, to get the number you need, you need the post to post, but that's not it. You got to keep going. You got to add a baluster. So you need that plus a baluster. So you need this 66.5. When you do 5.5 into 66.5 and you get 12 over 12, you need to go to 13. So 12 plus equals 13 centers.
So we can't have a partial baluster.
No, you can't. So right now, we're just figuring out how many balusters. And the reason why we take that dimension and we divide by 5.5 is because 5.5 center to center on an 1.5 dowel, right? 1.5 center line for a 4-inch space. It's 5.5 inches center to center. You get me? 5.5 inches center to center, an 1.5 balusters gives you a 4-inch space. So we know that 12, a little over 12 spaces will give us 4, but there are no partial balusters, so we go to the next one. We want more, never less, because that's going to mean now we know we're going to be less than 4 inches. As long as you go to the next one, and really the closer, it doesn't really matter. If this was 12 7/8, we just go to 13. We're going to be under 4. We're going to be under 4. That's all you got to know. Divide your post to post plus a baluster by 5.5, and then round up. Wherever it lands, round up. And if it lands dead on 12, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, fine. Then you have 4-inch spacing. But in this case, we got 13 centers. Now we'll take our 66.5 and we'll divide it by 13. What do you got?
5.11 or 5 1/8.
5.11. Well, an eighth is 125, so it's a little less than an eighth. So 5.11. I like it.
What if the construction calculator rounded?
Say again, please.
What if the construction calculator rounded?
Oh, but it is 5.11, right? Yeah, we're good. Well, 5.11 is so close to 5.125 we don't care, because we're going to lay it out anyway. We're going to lay it out. We're going to lay it out right on the board. So now we have our magic number. This is the magic number. Now let's do the other one. So go ahead and divide 5.5 into 68.5, please. Should be 12 and change, right? I'm sure it is.
12.45.
Okay, so 13 again. So now divide 13 into 68.5.
5.26.
Okay, bitchin'. Okay, so our spacing here is 5 point, let's call it, we're going to call it 5 1/8. 5 1/8. 5 1/8. 5 1/8. And then all of these are going to be 5 1/4. Easier than that. Now, we got to get to the final and very important part. And this is the part that you got to get, because I have laid this out. So what I thought were relatively intelligent human beings and had them just mess it up. Me go away, come back an hour later, and they totally did something else. So hopefully that's not you guys. So we now know that if our center spacing is at 5 1/8, then I'm going to have less than 4 inch centers, right? And I'm going to have a total of 13 of them. So basically, all I do is I take my my bottom rail and top rail, which are cut exactly the same. They're cut at whatever it was, whatever the spacing is. They're cut 68.5, right? They're cut to this number.
Plus an inch, right? Or 1.5 inches. No,
That's already right. So it's 67 newel to newel. We've done 2 3/4 let-ins. We've already burned half a center. So you don't have to burn you don't have to burn a center, burn 3/4 in. It's already done. And so you cut what, 12 67s or 68.5s, and they drop in. You can fit them, dry fit them. Make sure you dry fit them. Make sure they fit, right? And then stack them all up. And you cut all your balusters. You set up a stock on that saw, and you chop 50 million balusters. Everything exactly the same. You're not measuring. You measure it once, and you created a stock block, and you cut it, and you measured, and you checked it, and it was exactly what it wants to be, which is 33.5. And then you cut, because by now you know that you've got 13 centers, which is 12 balusters, in 6 rows, so that's 72. And then you've got pretty much the same over there in 4, 6, 24. So you got 96 balusters. So you need 96 2x2s by 33 and a half, and you're gonna set up a stop, and you're not gonna measure and cut and measure and cut, measure and cut, measure and cut. Please don't ever even think about that. Even if you have to cut 2 things, when you buy your saw, when you buy your saw, your chop saw, your sliding, arm, compound miter saw, just make sure that you get a decent table with it, and you know how to work the stops, or you know how to make bigger stops, or you know how to make outfeed tables, so you can use stops. Or if you're setting up in your garage, like on construction, you put a Biesmeyer fence with a stop that positively locks, so that when you tell it to cut 33 and a half inches, and you know that you set that thing, or you measured it and you cut one and the block is set, so that when that thing butts against a block, and your blade comes down, it cuts 33 and a half, it cuts 33 and a half every single time you butt to that block. Make sure you blow out the sawdust, make sure you're not smacking your stop block and moving it. You always make a pencil mark, and then make sure, because that can happen, you get going, because you're gonna cut 96 balusters. And then these guys, you're gonna cut 12 of these at 68 and a half, and you're gonna cut 8 of these at 66 and a half. You're gonna do all that in precise shop tools and make the sure of it. So you're taking fully assembled balusters out there, whole balustrades, not balusters, but this is a balustrade that are nailed top and bottom, and they're ready to just slide in your dado, slide in that top notch, and either nail or screw. I like to screw down and toe screw from underneath. And then you get to run this beautiful 2x6 mitered top rail that goes and that covers all of this dado nonsense in the top of your post. And you have a nice, super clean rail to get up against, and you can put a nice eased edge on it. Yes.
Does anything change if you're building a covered deck?
No. Not really. What do you mean when you say covered? Do you mean
Like for the newels, they're gonna keep going.
Oh, if you keep, yeah. Well, yeah, no, that's a good point, because by taking 3/4 and 3/4, you're leaving 2 inches of meat, right? So I would probably want to take a good look at that and see what I was supporting. What's my roof? If I'm supporting like a 4x8 and some 2x4 or 2x6 or 2x4 rafters, I'm probably not going to take 1.5 inches of meat out of my post. I'm probably gonna think of something else, a different way to go than that. So yeah, it does make a difference. If you were continuing on up to build a roof, then I might use 6x6 and then do the same exact thing, and you'd be golden, rather than leave yourself 2 inches. And that 2 inches might be just fine, because you're gonna stuff it full of wood too, right? And it's compression. It's not tensile on that. It's compression. So you might get some sway. It depends on how you tied the roof, or if you had any kickers, you had any 45s kicking it, you get some shear, and all that stuff would come into play. So in kind of thinking it out loud, I probably would be tempted to do that. Just this, exactly this. And the reason why I like it is because the 3/4 means you already burned that half a dowel, so that next center gives you your spacing, the same spacing as these guys, because every space is created by center. So that's why you have to burn 3/4 of an inch. You have to go off an imaginary dowel center to this dowel center to get the spacing the same. And this takes all that, because I tell people burn 3/4 inch, burn a half a baluster, burn a half a baluster. I have so many tests that say, burn a half a baluster. It's like, what is it? I mean, I can say it 50 million times. So burn a half a baluster, but if you do it this way, if you do these 3/4 lead ends and you build your balustrades separate, this will save you untold misery, and it's super efficient. And it's a killer looking deck. That's what I did in my house. I did it 1 billion years ago, and it's super low. It's nowhere near 42, because I don't want it to interrupt my view. And that's the problem with 42, is it does interrupt your view, but that's the way it goes. So don't build a guardrail. And I think it's 30 inches. I think there's, I'll knock on wood, you guys can remind me to remember to get you that handout. It's a good handout to know about. All right, let's take a break. It's, wow. Okay, tell you what, damn. Yeah, we want to do a little bit with Alex. I'm not gonna let you go. So let's take a little break. Just take like a 6-minute break at 10:02, come back, and we're gonna take, and break out the joiner. Hopefully the joiner knives aren't too wrecked. I haven't changed them lately, and we can show you how to joint. And, do you know what you want to rip those yet?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll at least joint them.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
And then, and then I might show you the surfacer too. Yeah, we're gonna go a little bit. So just come back in 6 minutes. Come back at 8 to, at 10 till 8, okay? 10 to 8.
Are the bathrooms open?
They should be, yeah.
They were last week.
Yeah, no, the campus is open till this class is technically over. Okay, you guys are gonna remind me, somebody's gonna remind me to start recording, all right? Please?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, we are.
Everybody's in here, right? Okay. We're back to recording. Who else is here? Gallery view. Victor's here, Eric's here, Donna's here, Brandon's here, Noel's here, I'm here. Okay, cool. Screen.
If I close the door again.
Yeah, please close the door. It is freezing.
It's gonna start snowing pretty soon.
It is really cool when you see, last year we saw the mountains with like a brushing of snow one time.
Yeah,
It was so cool.
Yeah, I've lived here 54 years. I've seen it with snow. I've been up there in the snow. It used to snow every winter.
Take 33.
Okay. We're gonna, I'm gonna fire up the joiner. Give you guys just a little thing on the joiner. Not a big one. And I probably need to change those knives. I'm not gonna do it now. I'm not sure when I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna erase this. I think this has been filmed enough. So I can draw this herringbone. What did John call it? A stacked?
Stack reverse 45.
Stacked reverse 45 herringbone. Wow.
It's probably the worst way you could probably describe it.
No, and it now has a name. It's a perfect name. Are you kidding me? It's a perfect name. You know what?
Is this 12 gauge extension cord good enough for this?
I'm sorry?
Is this 12 gauge extension cord good enough for this, or is there something else?
So, yeah, that's fine. Use that one. And then your two of you, get that bag clamp back on. It takes two people to do it, to get that bag clamp back on. Okay. You guys want to see what's happening here too, right? Oh, well, we're going to be on the board for just a minute. I want to show you this herringbone. Stacked herringbone, reverse 45. Stacked reverse 45 herringbone. Dude, you perfect?
Yeah, I got it.
Wow. Cool, man. That's great. You're not even excused. You're here.
What I missed.
Well, you'll have to look at it on Zoom. A lecture on decks and deck railings and baluster spacing. Would you do yourself or have somebody do your temperature? Are you even sick? You think Bob can like that?
97. Is that good?
That's good. Yeah, it's a bear, and it takes two people and a lot of patience to do that. So who knows what a herringbone is? Herringbone is strips. And this is all the way through. All the way through this herringbone pattern. That's a herringbone. You with me?
Yeah. It's into the table five.
All the way through. That would be a herringbone pattern. And it's a pretty cool thing to make by simply, it takes some waste. But if you laminate stock, light wood, like that maple, perfect. Dark wood, say walnut. Hand me that. There's a walnut circle, walnut box. You see anything walnut on there? Oh, here it is. Right here. There's a walnut circle right there. Right behind that big piece of olive. So walnut would be ideal, right? That maple. And we're gonna mill those up tonight. And that walnut would be great for solid stock. Please don't ever make a cutting board out of MDF veneer wood. Okay, just don't do it. So what you do is you take and laminate. You rip. Doesn't matter. Let's just say, for purpose of argument, we're making our cutting board, 3/4 today, and you're ripping these guys. This also doesn't matter, but let's just say they're 1/2 inch, and and this is, who knows, 20 inches, 28 inches, for a better number. I don't know what. These are all 1/2 inch, and this would be maple, and this would be walnut. Maple, walnut, maple, walnut, maple, walnut, maple, walnut. You get it? And you'd rip those and put glue on their edges and throw them in some clamps and clamp them up. That's what laminating is. And laminate that together so that becomes one board. And if you do the laminations right, if you use a proper amount of glue coverage and the right kind of glue and the proper amount of force and clamping, and let it cure the proper amount of time, the wood will break before the glue joint breaks. You can really get a solid glue joint, like becomes one. And once you've done that, then you take that guy and cut a square out of it at that angle. You're going to waste all that. And with the square with that angle, you just reverse every other one. Right? Yeah, I'm sorry. You have to rip it. You have to rip it. So that done, right? Then you rip it back to your 1/2 inch this way. And 1/2 inch rips, and then you reverse every other one. And then you relaminate it together, and then you create this herringbone. Cool. Yeah, it's that simple. I don't know if you can see it. It's really nice to see it, to be able to see it and flip them over, because then you see this. If you can picture that going like that, you see this whole thing created. So that's a herringbone. That's a stacked, yeah, that's okay. A stacked, laminated 45 herringbone, anyway. It's herringbone. This is a jointer. That's a 6-inch jointer. Jointers are designated by the width of their bed. That's a jointer bed. Okay, did you guys get that on there?
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
There we go.
Oh, good, good. Now, what I'm gonna need, because of how we have to do our stuff, which is, we have to make everything movable. I'm gonna need somebody back here to help me steady this baby. All right, so this is really important. Don't use a joiner if this garlic not on it. This is too damn dangerous. These knives. Not that bad. Except my mask is fogging up my glasses. Huh. All right, they don't look that bad. It might be a little dull. So if this joiner was set right, this outfeed table is at top dead center of the cutter head as it revolves. The cutter head revolves like this towards me. It's got 3 knives and a revolving cutter head. There's one of the knives. The top dead center of that knife is set dead even with this table. This table, the infeed table, drops. However much it drops is how much we take off. So joiners are used to put a flat surface on a board, a flat surface. So you can take a board with cup and flatten it out with multiple passes on the joiner. Of course, you're going to take more and more meat from the outside till you get to, and then you'll have only one flat side. And then you can throw it to the surface planer and get the other part flattened, right? If you've got a flat surface to go on. If you throw a cup piece in the surface planer, it won't flatten it. You have to flatten it on the joiner. So joiners are, and bigger joiners, bigger, like the one in our shop is 12 inches, are used, and usually with push material, so you can really get a grab and get on it to face joint it, because all your door and window stock is face jointed. But we generally use joiners to put a 90-degree edge, a straight edge on a board. We usually order them SLR 1E, straight line ripped one edge, but in Alex's case, it looks like he's got himself a piece of maple, 8-quarter maple that is not straight line ripped. So can we just give you a straight edge on this?
Yeah.
Is that what you want?
That's great, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna do that. This is a piece of maple. It's soft maple, but it's hard. So don't let the soft maple designation fool you. So do you want one jointed edge and then a ripped parallel edge? Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you always want to go so that your knife is going with the grain, not against it. This looks like I've got it going the right way, so let's see. Maybe a square, please.
One of these guys here?
Yeah, it's good. Anything. This all has pre-stops, preset stops for square. This fence is adjustable. Like that goes like that, so you can put bevels on edges. It's got a positive stop. It's been set for 90, right there. This is not a super, I mean, it's not super accurate for machining, but this is going to give us a good enough look. There we go. I'm going to set this thing. Okay, it's taking like, it's taking, oh, wow, now it's gone. It's taking, a 16th. Yeah, it's taking about a 16th right now. Okay, we'll lock that in. Okay, somebody over here will lead for me. Maybe right, stand over here. Stand over here. Just use your foot, like, kind of pretend like you're anchoring this thing. Yeah, we gotta get it more on that.
Do we pick it up?
That's what we should do. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, wait, rock it that way.
Let's just get it off.
It's not even on the
Ready?
corner.
We're gonna pick it up right now,
Okay.
and then you're gonna, somebody's gonna grab it. Pick it up. It's gonna go back on. See, this needs to be mounted to the ground, especially for a big piece of wood like this, but we'll go ahead and get it jointed. Yeah, so what, it's got a bit of a bow to it. So it'll be taking a little bit here, a little bit there. See that? See what it's doing? Took a little bit here, took a little bit there, and it'll keep taking that until we can get one pass. All right, so somebody come over here and back me up or just help me hold this. Really hard, so it's gonna chatter a little bit. One more. Stop right there. Ready. See that edge? Oh, smooth. So that knife was in good shape. And it's jointed, so come take a look at it, you guys, sight it. Everybody sight it.
That's nice.
Yeah, it is. Puts a nice edge on it, so we'll joint that other one too, and then we'll rip them both, and then we'll joint off the saw marks, and then they'll be yours
Sweet.
again. Now, do you
Nice.
wanna this is hit or miss, so do you wanna take this off of it too?
I mean, if you don't mind, if you have the time, that'd be great,
Well,
but we
yeah,
don't need to.
We have the time. We don't have that many classes left together. And next week's gonna be Jerry DeHogan. By the way, I may not stay for the whole thing. My trailer will be loaded. And my wife and I are heading to Portland for 10 days. Pulling the trailer the next day, so Friday morning. What am I doing? Next one. And it really just needs some silicone spray in the worst way. But we don't have any, I don't know what, I was thinking of what we use these days, paraffin wax, I mean, just.
Nice to get a little leg screw down in one of the joists, but
Say again now?
nice to get a little leg screw down in one of the joists.
Yeah, it would, if we were gonna do a lot of jointing, that's exactly what we do. For sure, that's exactly what we do, we just drop a lag into a joist and do not have anything. Nope, really nothing, I wonder. That belt cleaner, belt eraser. Yeah, silicone would be great. Okay. Let's see what we got here. So take a look at your piece. Obviously, we're not going to joint this natural edge. That'd be a drag. So you've got so this is a milled edge, right? It's not SLR 1E. It's from the mill, straight. It's as straight as the mill's going to make it, which is not that straight. I get my gloves on. I need gloves.
So what are you gonna do with it?
I was gonna use it as firewood.
Nice. It is pretty cold.
I know, these chilly nights, I was just thinking a nice jointed edge for straight to the fire.
Don't burn that.
Can you guys see this home?
I think
Can they
it's
see?
fixed it.
Yeah, I adjusted it.
Okay, good, thank you. Yeah, here we go.
I'm gonna try to make a cutting board.
Beautiful. So that is what you need to do before you rip these bears. Because ripping them on a saw, that fence will only duplicate what's there. So it won't give you a straight cut on the blade side unless you have a straight edge to put against the fence. Okay. So let's go. Hand me my killer blade. I'm gonna sacrifice. You know what? Maybe I won't. Well, we'll use this one because we're gonna joint off your saw marks anyway. So let's just see how this likes 6/4 maple. Say again, please. Oh yeah. Thank you mucho.
So what is the suggested blade for ripping?
Well, for ripping, it would be a rip blade,
Yeah.
but that gives you a really nasty saw marks. And that's only if you're ripping a whole lot of stock, you wanna rip it, which is like, 10 teeth versus these guys are probably 40 or 60. And that one of mine is 62. You don't need a blade cut that fine because we're gonna take the saw marks off on the joiner. Now, if we were ripping stock, like multiple, let's just say we're gonna rip this stuff into 2.5s or something like that. A whole bunch of them, we're making frames, something, I don't know. Then I would rip them all over. I joint one edge just like this, exactly like this. And hoping that this rough cut stock was a little bit more than I needed, right? And then I would, with one jointed edge, I'd rip them on the saw 1/8 over. So if I wanted them 2.5, I rip them 2 5/8, every one of them. Because my first one would be a jointed edge, a saw marked edge, and then the succeeding ones after that would be saw marks both edges, right? But they'd all be 2 5/8. And so rather than go back over the joiner and use the joiner to take the saw marks off, because it's really total operator, how much you take and whether you snipe or not, it has really a lot to do with the guy that's operating it. I just take them on in, break out the surfacer, and take it down to 2 9/16, take them all through 2 9/16, one side, flip them all over, down to 2.5, take the last 16th, now they're all net 2.5, all net 2.5, no saw marks on the edges. Okay, we jointed that, so let's get this out of here. Let's pick it up and we'll get, we can hook this up to the, no, wait, hold on. We're gonna rejoint for Alex. We're gonna take those saw marks off for him, right? You want option, right? On both sides, saw marks off. Okay, so we'll do this. So let's leave this for now. Sorry. But let's go ahead and hook up our dust to the saw.
You'll get this out of the way.
Yeah. Thought we didn't lag it.
I think I have a piece of surface core size mahogany from Hearth I built years ago. It's like a 2x12. If you want to do herringbone or something, you can have it.
Oh, yeah, mahogany would be good for that too.
Yeah, if you want
Okay.
to, I don't know, it's like 2 feet.
Wow. So let's do the easy one first. Which is this beast. So this side is going against the fence. So it looks like to max this guy out, it looks like you get 11 1/4, 11 and just over 11 5/16, 11 5/16. I think if we take it to 11 1/4, get it off. Lower 11 1/4. Okay, you're gonna man the thingamabobber for me. I hated that. That was the worst thing that's happened to me in 2 years. Not as bad as the grinding that stucco, no. That was way worse. But, okay, and we can go ahead We won't join it yet, but we'll join it. And then I think we can get the whole thing on Super Sur, which will be interesting. Okay, what do we got here?
It's nice actually doing stuff in class.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
This makes all the difference in the world. I hate to make sawdust with the damn computers on, I try to not mix sawdust with computers. But, yeah, and it gives me the option to do so much more than trying to, well, just do it once, 3 times, or 4 times. So thanks for coming. Thanks for trusting me in this process so we can stay safe and do this with each other, because I think it makes a difference. I know it does. And I wish you all were here. I miss you all. Big time. Okay, so what can we get out of this, Alex? 10 and 9/16. Okay, that 11 and a half goes all the way to there. And then you're down here to 10 and a half. So, yeah, I'm just gonna take it to 10 and a half. Oh, then you'll have that outfall. You can do whatever you want to with it. Well. Okay, John. So, I don't think I told you this before, but the higher the blade, the better the cut, but the more dangerous the cut. The better the saw cuts, the better it works. The longer the blade lasts, the higher it goes. But it's not safe, so don't. But just so you know. You can use more teeth, a steeper angle, it just really makes blades last a lot longer. But it's dangerous, so keep it a 1/4 inch down. And now we got saw marks, which will joint up.
How high is the blade over the board right now?
So you get this?
How high would you say roughly is the
1/4
blade
inch.
over the board?
1/4 inch.
And you save it.
You could, if I was feeling confident, I haven't cranked it up as far as it goes because I haven't done it that far, but I can bring the blade up. I can bring the blade up this far. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
But your blades will last longer.
Why
Yeah,
is it
you know,
dangerous?
I've done it both ways, and really, I lost some meat to the table saw. I drug that finger right through the middle. I was looking at the end of my bone and right through my finger. It just drug across the blade. I was dropping in a drop rabbit or a stuffed dado or something like that. Anyway, wasn't good. I would recommend it. Okay, so we're done with that. Would you hook us up to the joiner and get the saw marks off this baby? It's a pretty nice cut. Alex, you're gonna come back me up? Cool. And Austin, would you monitor the camera guy? Right. Whatever you gotta do, whatever you feel. Looks, I'm gonna trust you on that.
do put a piece of flooring plywood on that and bolt it with flooring plywood. And you're good. Right, you wanna get that? It might pick itself up. Here, when you put John, maybe a plan. We'll have plans with that. That way a little bit. Yeah. Oh, it's all right. All right, let's get these. One more. Powers that baby up. You ever made these before? No. Probably not. Which one? Well, we'll see what happens. Let's go through. Surface players, so you remember my $10 micrometer? This is probably the most valuable tool I own that cost me at least amount of money. This tool right here, see that? That was too close, wasn't it? It's an inside calipers, it's an outside calipers, and it's a depth gauge. Okay, so let's start out with this guy. Okay, I got 1 and 2 clicks under half. 2 clicks is 264, so 32nd under a half. Yeah, so that's like 30/64. 1 and 30/64. Okay, so we're gonna take that down. We're gonna start at 7/16. 1 and 7/16. So this stock is 6/4 net, but what is it S2S? It's 7/4 S2S.
So 1.5.
7/4 inch and 3/4 is what it started out, right? So it's 7/4 means 1/8 of an inch a side got taken off to get it down to this, but this is hit or miss. So that's what's called hit or miss. So they didn't quite get it to what they wanted. They wanted a net 1.5 inches and a net 6/4, but they didn't get it. So this will not get you 6/4. It won't net 6/4. It'll net 5/4, net 1.25 inches, no sweat. Let's see what this one is. This one's a little closer. All right, let's try it 1 and 7/16. This is a big grab for this. I hope these knives are
I mean, if the knives are good, we're golden. Should be fine. Okay. So this has a digital readout, but I haven't zeroed it. I haven't. I'm not comfortable with it, so I'm using not the metric scale. I'm using the 1/7/16. So there's 1 1/8, 1 1/4, 1 1/2. I'm gonna go to a 16th. Now, a full revolution is a 16th. Full revolution is a 16th. Follow me? And that's true with virtually every planer there is. The whole revolution is a 16th. I'm gonna take a 16th or a little less maybe because it's maple. Here we go. This thing has a feed roller, which is the first thing that grabs it. It's a kind of really corrugated roller. It really grabs it and pulls it into the knives, and the cutter head's going this way. It's a 3 knives. It approximates a spiral cutting head, but it's not really a spiral cutting head. It's the knives are put into a curved groove on the solid steel cutter head, and it's a thin a tool steel knife that actually bends and becomes a spiral cutter head. If any of you, when I change the knives on either one of these, I'll film it. And I'll try to get one of you to be the cameraman, but I'll film it so you can see the knives. But the surface planer, joiner, surface planer, table saw, these are, if you have these tools, then you can basically film anything. And throw in a bandsaw and a shaper, and you can make your own cabinet drawers. You can do anything you want. Well, anything within reason. Okay, here we go. This is really important that we pick the right way to feed this, and I think this is the right way to feed it. Here we go. We're gonna find out. John? It's pretty flat there, man. We don't have a joiner that we could join it with. I don't have a blade that bend the face joiner, but it's pretty flat, which means it'll should give us a parallel thickness too. And that was just the right amount to take off. I really like that. Just a little bit. That was weird.
Yeah.
Let's hit something below. It's snagged on that. Yeah, that's not good. So. We're gonna try to leave this space alone.
Ronnie, what was the determining factor in the way you put it in the planer?
Reading the grain, wanted to go with the one, the cutter head to go with the grain, not against it, and chat, get some chatter. Sometimes I miss it, but I'm usually pretty right on, and if I miss it, I know, you can tell. And maple, you can really tell.
Chisel the preferred tool, or would you normally use a hand plane or something?
Yeah, a little block. a thumb plane or something like that, for sure. I just don't, I know there isn't one here, and I know where mine are, and they're not here. So, my chisels are relatively sharp. This is relatively hard knot. I don't want to grab a sander, even though I could probably grab a sander and 80 grit out, but I just want to get it through the surfaces. You know what I mean?
Relatively sharp block plane now.
Yeah, but this will do it. We're there. We're already there.
On a cutting board, what do you do with the knot? Do you use film or something, or?
Yeah, you should fill it with nuts or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Stand up. That's a problem. I gotta brace out. So which way did I see that? This way, right? No. That's okay. Okay. And 1 7/16, right? 1 7/16. Ah.
Are you able to like?
So let's go. We're gonna wheelie down a little bit, okay? That's fine. Okay. Knot's gonna blow out of there. So we're gonna do the face there. So it's pretty flat. I didn't want to take any more on that side than I had to. You can blow that knot completely out of there. So that's what we call an STK. Yeah, it's an STK. What's that? Not an STD. An STK. What is it? Solid tight knot. Solid tight knot. STK. Another STK. Yeah. So you can sand these out. Unless you want me to make another pass.
No, that's fine.
You good?
Yeah, that looks
You want
great.
that, you want that thickness, if you could? You
Yeah, I like
wanted
that. Yeah.
We did one more pass, I could get rid of that. But you'd lose, well, right now, you started about a little over 1 7/16, and now you are about 1 3/8 plus.
I like it.
1 22/64, which is 11/32. So yeah, you like it like that?
I think
Or do you
so.
want, or do you want one more,
Well, how much more would you be taking off?
less than 16?
All right, then yeah, well, yeah, why not?
I think I'd do that. So one whole revolution will be a 16, so I'm gonna go just over a 32nd. Let's go ahead and push this one through. So I'll get- Bitchin', huh?
Yeah.
Now these edges, the jointed edges, should be good enough if you were gonna laminate this. I joint them better, where it's, I think you're out of 90. I think that joining that big piece, I think I got out of 90, so I would joint them better if I was gonna laminate them, but if I could, but they're perfect to rip. And I'm just not sure what you're gonna do with them, but they're milled a little bit cleaner than when they came in. All your hit and miss is gone. All your saw marks are off. They're parallel. You have no natural edges. One's 10.5, I think, and one's 11.
Sweet. Thanks, Rodney.
Yeah, nothing
Appreciate
to it. And you too can do that with a 10-inch table saw, 13-inch joiner, 6-inch joiner, and a 13-inch surfacer. They make, Ryobi makes a, and I'm sure other people do too, make a really nice bench top 12-inch surfacer that runs on 110. And it's just, for small stuff, it's really great. And it's really great when you're making stiles and rails and you're making frames and you're making, multiple pieces of solid stock, to rip it all on the saw. If you get a jointed edge, or in lots of cases, you can get boards from Hayward's, or we order boards with straight line rip SLR 1E, right? Straight line rip one edge. They're straight. You put that up to the fence and rip them right out of the, we don't have to joint them at all. That's the way you want to get them. And then you make all your rips and you put everything on edge, right? Not on the flat, but on edge through the surface planer. Take out the saw marks, flip it over, take out the saw marks. And then you have every one of your stiles and rails or frame pieces, if you want them that way, is exactly the same. Same width, no, because when you're doing miters, if you got a 2 9/16 and 2.5, you're screwed. I mean, really, you're not gonna like it. So machining, it's super important, and it's not that easy. You know what I mean? When it's warped, it's cupped, it's bent, it doesn't want to cooperate, it wants to, it's wet, you put it through the saw, and it closes up, right? You got to have shims, if you're ripping stock like 2x12s and stuff like that, have some shims on your fence, because as you push that wet stock through, sometimes it'll just close behind the blade. You want to jam a shim in it to keep the kerf open as you push it through the blade. Right? Okay, so let's, oh God, it's 8:45. Let's sit down for just a second. We'll bring in the at-home crew. Hey, gang. At home, hanging in with us, I hope. John, you're probably freezing, right? It's okay, I'll keep you awake. So, did anybody learn anything new tonight you didn't know before? Or at least you were exposed to, learning this. Hopefully you learned something, or hopefully I showed you something you didn't know and that you can apply. Some of you I know are familiar with those tools, and some of you I'm pretty sure aren't. So those are pretty standard shop tools, and they come in a wide variety of iterations. And what I mean by that is from really big and really industrial to really small and really crafty, right? For home projects and stuff like that. So don't be daunted, because all those tools we use, you can buy smaller, cheaper versions or used versions and get them yourself. If you're interested in making things, that's a ticket. But even if you're not, understanding how things are made and machined will further you in this trade. The more you know about, the more you know about everything, the better you'll be. And there's so much to know. Oh my God, I'm so reminded of, 6 years. I've been 6 years away from really actually building, and probably a lot more than that, more like 8, 9 years away from building anything of any size, in the field. And it's a whole different ballgame today. Building is a whole different ballgame. The stuff that you have to do and the way you have to do it. Like I'm doing a slab on grade where the existing slab is from 1950, and it has basically thickened edges. I mean, I don't think this footing is 12 inches deep, but there isn't one crack in the slab. And the slab that we're doing, that connect to extend the house, it has 30-inch deep footings. And the reason for that is, if you don't want a soils report, you can get 30-inch deep footings, and basically you don't require a soils report, because at 30 inches deep, the footing is so deep that there's enough concrete and steel in there that it'll support virtually anything. Certainly a single-story house, two-story house for sure. But anyway, I digress. Joiner, surfacer, great demo, a real-life demo, Alex Stock. And by the way, Alec, I refer to Alec, it looks like he got himself a job. So if any of you guys are looking for work, just shoot me an email or a text and tell me what you're looking for and what you can do, and I'll see if I can't further your cause. Okay? Any work experience you want me to know about, or anything. What your schedule could be if you work full time, stuff like that. If you're interested at all. And same goes for my friends at home. And what else? Balustrades, huh? Equal spacing. It's pretty killer. I personally, this kind of stuff just gets me off. And it gets me off in a way that, because I've built these things and I've built them this way, and I've used my mind to figure out how to build them efficiently, and it's worked. Because this really works. You can really, and you can go off an existing deck that's crazy out of level and all kinds of stuff, and this really works. You can work it to standardize and get your balustrades standardized between mill posts, so they just slip in, center layout's easy, everything's done on the bench. You're not, trying to nail in place, all that stuff. You can do it. We've done tons of these things, outside, inside, rake staircases, guardrails. So, any questions? So next week, Joy DeHoe, be here, and really, you're gonna dig it. You're gonna see dynamic, super talented, super tooled finish guy. Joy DeHoe. You'll see him at work, and then after that, it'll be Thanksgiving, right? And then I think we've just got like 1-2 classes after Thanksgiving. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. We'll have like a review class and another class. So if there's anything you want me to go back to, or something you were hoping to get and didn't, it would be a good time to tell me, because I could cover that in that class after Thanksgiving. Because after that, we're going to take a test, and it's going to be all online. And I won't see you guys unless you take CT114. But really, thank you for coming. And I'm sorry it took so long, but it just did. It had to. It had to take this long. It just had to take what it took to get us in here, together. But I'm totally willing to do it. You guys answered questions rightly. None of you look sick. You Nobody's temperature's up, so just stay safe and stay healthy and see you here, right? Here, next week, 6 o'clock, Thursday. Thursday, the 19th of November. And I'm gonna stop recording until my friends at home.
Yeah,
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming. Let's go with gallery view here. Hey,
it was nice.
guys hung in, you hung in. So hopefully we had a camera and you could see that stuff. And so let me know if you're going. So Eric, do you know if you'll be here next week? You'll be here or
No,
you can Zoom?
no, I'm still gonna be on.
You're still out of town. You too, Donna, you'll be on Zoom?
Yeah, I'm out of town.
Okay. And I guess Brandon, well, I'll talk to Brandon. Brandon, you might be here, right?
Yeah, next Thursday. Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay,
be there.
good, cool. Okay, so see you guys next Thursday. Have a good week. Stay safe out there. Okay. Okay.
See you.
Oh, I gotta. Did I stop recording? Yes.